creatures at the vastness of universal consciousness as we continue to seek what is not supposed to exist as we search for the truth that only comes from going into the fire. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Into the Fire. And I hope you're all having a fantastic Sunday night on a wonderful Labor Day weekend. It's been a little bit rainy up here for the last few days. And looks like it's continuing today, and hopefully it clears out tomorrow for a little bit, but who knows. But let's welcome our wonderful co-hosts into the night show, Tanya and Billy. How you guys doing?
Doing good. A little bit on the tired side today.
We all are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, our poor guest too is the same way. And we talked earlier, and I'm like, we're killing ourselves.
Busy weekend.
It was a busy weekend, and it's been a busy last few weekends, in fact.
Oh yeah.
And I don't see anything. Looking in the crystal ball, I don't see it slowing down much either. So
We are at that time of year.
Yep.
Yeah. Chat room, you are in for a real treat. I hope that we pick that up here soon. I apologize for the late notice of the sharing all this stuff out and everything else, but we've got a wonderful guest that so many people know, and she is just probably one of the premier paranormal investigators that I have the privilege of knowing. Ranking up there with Billy Sims and Tanya. But she is just a very special person, always busy, has humanity in her heart, just she's just a wonderful person, and it's just so great to have her on tonight. And called her at the very last minute and said, will you do this for us? And she said yes, and I can't thank her enough. So I'm going to be bringing on the ghost biker herself, Miranda Young.
Hey, guys.
Miranda. How you doing? And I know
Doing great.
Talking about being beat and and everything else and all that stuff, and you're pulling double duty today. Chris is out on visiting family in Memorial Day, and you're holding the fort down at the wonderful Scott County Jail. And what else you been doing, honey?
Oh, what have I not been doing? That might be.
I get that.
Yeah, no, it's been busy. We literally just opened the escape room last weekend, and so we had two groups tonight. Literally just finished one up about 15 minutes ago, and had a great paranormal team last night. So it's one of those things. I was here with the team last night till just after almost 4 this morning, and then came in, ran the day tours, and then the escape room this evening. So yes, a couple long days, but we're trying to be open here for Labor Day that's coming up. Got some great day tours and stuff scheduled for tomorrow, and a lot of events, going into spooky season. We're working on our events here at the jail. Both Chris and myself are working on our own personal events with our personal team, her with Soul Sisters and me with Ghost Biker. So a lot of great stuff. And of course, season 5 that's going to be coming out here in October, which
can you believe that? Season 5.
I know, right? I mean, it's hard to believe, it just seems like it was yesterday. Yeah, we were intro in season 1 and seeing how things would go, and I would have never dreamed that it would have taken off like it did.
Well, you do such a special job with it. Everybody and their brother just loves you to death and is out there supporting you 100% every time you're doing something because of the quality of the shows. And it strikes home because you and I have talked about it so many times on air and off air and everything else. Hello, Kitty. And so much
silly.
Wonderful. I love it, man. into the act.
Yeah, she lives here at the jail. She was a stray, and
Uh-huh.
she didn't have a home. She had kittens whenever we found her, but we were not able to find those kittens. She had weaned them, found
Mhm.
out she didn't have a home, and so we ended up working with the local for Love of Paws and got her fixed. And so she now calls the jail her home. We call this her castle, and so yeah, she stays here day and night.
So you get a new mascot.
Yep.
Pretty much. We
That's
capitalize off of her.
that's
we
excellent. You
we've
know,
got pins and posters and puzzles and all kinds of stuff with her on it.
that's awesome. That is awesome. You know, when we sit back and talk about the old days, wow. And you're so right. Your show has taken off by leaps and bounds, and everybody looks forward to it. And you've worked so hard about it. And as we mentioned, you bring a very special part to the paranormal because you are also about the historical end of it. You're on a road cruise, and you're going to these places that you enjoy the bike riding,
Hmm.
and you enjoy the paranormal investigations, but you also so much enjoy history,
Yeah,
and
the history is
you do
primary.
some great stuff. And I am so looking forward to season 5. Can you let any information out about season 5?
Sure can. So, so last season we I kind of had it structured to where there was a theme throughout the entire season, and we covered haunted homes, and of course covered Octagon Hall during that season. But it's one of those things where this having a theme and tying everything together really actually worked very well. So this season we're actually going to be doing haunted jails and haunted prisons. And so every single, which of course makes sense, since I'm here 16
Yeah,
hours a day. But yeah, going to be covering some amazing jails and prisons in the area, and we're looking at five, maybe 6 episodes. We may have long; it may extend on past the season. I'm not promising anything just yet because we are kind of getting down to the wire and finishing up the editing of those. But definitely some great places with some amazing history.
excellent. Excellent, excellent. We'll be looking forward to it. I can just imagine some of those jailhouse places of your. I
Hmm.
think I've probably
Yep.
3 or 4 of them already picked out.
You probably do. Probably do. Yeah, there's going to be one that has not yet been investigated, which is kind of one of those. I like to hit the lesser known
Yeah,
locations myself. Maybe not even the commercial ones, but in the very beginning, we started with more of the local legends and folklore and stuff.
right.
But then it really works well to go to these locations that are lesser known or newer on the scene to really help in that promotion and that paranormal tourism sort of thing. So one of the locations has not been investigated before, but has an amazing history. Um, Two of them are fairly new. One of them, of course, being my location here, but and then, well, I guess technically, when you think about it, all of them are fairly new within 2 to 3 years of being open. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's awesome though. I mean, and it's always good to. We always love the fresh hunt. Going into those places that we haven't been into before, and always look forward to that. And we got to do that up at Old Stone. No, not
Hmm.
Old Stone. It was up at the what the heck was the name of that place? Uh, Gosh, isn't that terrible?
Gang.
Yeah, the Gaines Tavern,
Oh
up,
yeah,
up
yeah.
in such an awesome place, just an awesome place. And we did an event up there with Debbie Mitchell Warren and Ray Ziminsky, and um, we had Dave Spinks and Serenity
Oh
Jenny,
yeah.
and it was just an awesome place. It was just
For a place that's got the the title of the murder suicide house. It was really it was a great vibe, a great experience there. I mean,
Hmm.
That definitely was. But
I almost think they was holding back on us,
Well, these newer
throwing that
places.
bait out to get us to come back. And
Yep, just enough to pull you back in.
Uh-huh.
I tell you, it's these new places are fascinating to me a lot because, especially one of them that I'm going to be highlighting this season. Obviously you're going in and you're kind of trying some things, but you find that a lot of these places, maybe the people who own them or run them, they're not really into the paranormal, at least from my experience. And so a lot of the time it's almost like whenever there's activity that happens, you'll often hear them say, well, I don't go up there, or I
Mm.
stay out of this area because I'm nervous or intimidated by it. So I feel like that sort of almost kind of sets a precedence for some of the spirits that are in these locations when they're
Mhm.
constantly, it's almost like, with an animal, whenever you're training it, and if they do something and you react this way, well, maybe they're not going to do it, or maybe if they want you to stay away, they will continue to do it. So I've found at several of these locations in starting to investigate, and we had the same thing happen here at the jail, that because people would shy away from the activity when it would happen, the spirits weren't really communicating a whole lot. And so the first couple times that I went to this one particular location that I'm going to highlight, it was almost like kind of trying to pull the activity out because I don't know if they were so used to people
ignoring them.
Mhm.
exactly ignoring and not coming around. So I tried some really unique and different experiments to essentially sort of create an environment like it would have been back at that time, whenever it would have just been a normal everyday type activity. And it was really interesting to see how they started reacting and opening up and really responding intelligently to a lot of the different experiments that I was doing, just because taking that route. And that's really when it kind of dawned on me that, maybe the reason they're not getting some activity in here is potentially because every time something happens, they try to get further away from it.
Mhm.
Makes so much sense. And, that's a great theory. I love it because we see that in uh, locations, as you know, we see it at the hall. The hall changes.
Hmm.
And I know that other proprietors close by to the hall
Hmm.
uh, have the same thing because as they
Hmm.
started out, it was slow and there was an easy
Hmm.
part. And these certain areas start to grow more and more, and then these characters come out. I'm sure you've got characters over there that are just continually there, and they are just they kind of become the boss of the place at certain times.
They do. And when you're here as long as we are, it's kind of one of those things that you really are able to conduct some true paranormal research, because you can go in and you can kind of start to learn by the way they respond. Certain entities will respond different with the dowsing rods, like maybe moving one side of the rod, and you're talking to a certain person because that's how they typically respond. Or
Right.
sometimes the voices, or sometimes a certain reactions. So you're able to really sort of build that relationship. And I'll tell you, when we first came here, which today's actually kind of a special day because today is our 1 year anniversary of when we opened the jail.
Oh, fantastic.
And yeah, so
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. So that's actually, today's the anniversary, and we had got the keys back. We technically got them. So we opened September 4th. We got the keys back in July. And so we had to spend a lot of time cleaning, getting everything ready. So what we did was, probably for about 5 to 6 weeks of the time that we were here, we weren't really actively investigating. We were essentially going into the different rooms, talking to the spirits, and really just trying to get them comfortable and let them know what we're doing. Because again, when the jail was open, it was very active then, but nobody was communicating with them. They were essentially either wanting to be transferred or not wanting to be in that certain area because of what the activity that was happening. And so then the jail closed in 2008, and it was closed from 2008 until 2021. So you've got them just sitting dormant. We did have people, there were a few different investigators who did get to come in here to the jail. And I investigated for the first time here in 2014. And we had a couple different teams that had come in. I think there was maybe 3 or 4 during that time frame from '08 until 2021. And so, but essentially, it's very dormant. And so whenever you're coming in and all of a sudden you're starting to bring a lot more people in, you're starting to bring people in who are engaging with these people, I can see where that would be completely confusing and uncomfortable. So, and plus you're asking them to not really perform, but yeah, perform and touch
Yeah.
things and do things that they're not used to being asked. So we spent a lot of time really trying to build a relationship and also trying to bring out the different tools and show them that there's different ways to communicate, and really even learning about these spirits. We learned what type of music some of these spirits like and what they like to interact with. We've learned what tools they're more comfortable with. And we've learned a lot about some of the different residual type activity that's happened here. So we really, just as we were trying to sort of orient them, we learned even more about them and what they liked. And even the style of investigating and communication that some of the different ones prefer. And so I think that time, while we didn't jump in head first with the communication, at least as far as recording it and stuff, we did try to jump in and make everyone as comfortable as possible. And I think it really paid off.
Oh, it does. It does. And
It does.
whenever you're just, I don't know, the people who know myself, know Billy and Tanya, our relationships with our location over there at Octagon Hall, the things we do, and being there for as many years as I've been there on a daily basis. It's like let me tell you something. And sometimes when you are there and they're talking to you, and Billy and Tanya and I've come up there, sometimes nobody has on a Sunday, and we don't maybe get together for a week or two. And I'll just say, why don't we meet up the hall? We'll go to dinner or something. We'll just sit there for a minute or two and just say hi to them and not wear them out. Just spend an hour just relaxing in the hall, because it's like, it's our home too. We share it with them and they share it with us. So we become very attached to a lot of the spirits. And it is, I know Billy and Tanya and I both, we get emotional in there because they'll start talking, just us sitting there and talking. And the next thing they're going, oh, we missed you. And oh, we love you. And all that stuff. And you're like going, I'm talking to a spirit. And,
I mean, it really is an honor, to get any form of communication from the spirits that are here. And, it's even more honoring and humbling whenever, because of course we do have someone, since we are a museum, we do have someone that's on site during the investigations. And so usually I work the night shift because I'm kind of a night owl. But for the last couple weeks, we've had different teams and we did different kinds. Some teams, like the one we had last night, I gave them the tour. We don't see them until the very end, and then they kind of tell us and then they leave. Others, they come in throughout and kind of share different things that's happened. They'll also ask a lot of questions to see if I can look up some history for them. Right. But it's really humbling whenever you're sitting there and one of them comes in and they're like, somebody's requested to talk to you, and they asked for you specifically, or they, lit everything up when we mentioned you. And it's interesting that on the particular night that this happened, a week before last, it was specifically a guy that I'd been talking to in one of the cells. And he does prefer to talk to women. And so whenever I started asking certain questions, I mean, it was dead before I went up there. And then certain specific questions, they were pinpointing specific ones, and they love it when we cut up with them and we're kind of laughing and joking. And when you turn it to that mode and you're not all serious, like you're sitting there conducting research or interrogating them, you can get some amazing responses. And to me,
Yeah,
that's just so humbling, whenever they do
Yeah.
that, that you've made a connection.
you
Yeah,
know,
it changes the atmosphere. It
Yeah.
makes them feel like they're part of the conversation instead of the focal point of the conversation.
right,
Yes.
right,
Now,
yeah,
Yeah.
do you find that when you're there and you're not investigating, you tend to get a lot more activity?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
you don't have to chase them. If they want to interact with you, they're going to come to you.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
We
And
find that
so
at the hall a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, especially as close as all of you are with the spirits that are there. We're finding that a lot too, because if Chris and I are here, rarely are we both here at the same time anymore. But when we are and we're having conversation, we'll start getting things. Whenever we do the flashlight tours, especially, we do. It's not an active immersive ghost hunt, but we do a little session, just to establish communication and really try to sort of entice people to want to do a ghost hunt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so when we go up there and there's certain stories we'll tell, and it's almost like the person we're telling about, they'll spike the EMF at that point, or they'll start turning flashlights on. They're kind of like, hey, that's me, that's my story, or hey, I did that. But then when we're standing up there just kind of having a casual conversation and specifically joking around, that's when everything lights up and goes crazy, and
Yeah.
you can really start to see it sounds weird to someone that's never done this, but whenever you really start to see their personalities, and specifically who you're talking to each time, which is or most of the time, which is really
Mhm.
fascinating.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, and even when you get pictures, you know who you're looking at, you know what it is. You say, "Oh yeah, that's so and so. This has got to be so and so," and it's just because we're there all the time and we're
Hmm.
with us, and they are so intelligent that they love to just, if you're just opening a conversation, you're just talking, they just love to sit around. You can feel the energy just come into the room, and
Mhm.
well, we've got uh, Tanya, Billy, and me at the table, and eating a sandwich or whatever the heck we're doing, and the next thing you know, you're ganged up with 6 or 7 spirits. The temperature's changed, and you just know that they're all there going.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'll get activity, like, because I'll do my podcast sometimes when I'm in town on a Thursday night. I'll do it from right here,
uh,
and people will see somebody. They'll walk behind there. Sometimes the visitation room that's over there, if the door's closed, people have seen somebody peeping out, and it gives me the impression of, that they hear me talking, they see me interacting, but I'm sitting here, looking at this computer, and they can see you all. And so I've even had people on the podcast who are, sensitives, or they're mediums, and they can see things. And so they'll say, and they'll describe some of the people, clearly not knowing some of our lesser known
right.
inmates that are here, and they describe them very clearly. So when we're just kind of here hanging out, that's when everything happens. I'll tell you, I had an experience just before I came online. So we have when we're doing the escape rooms, we play jail ambient sounds, and so have that running while they're doing the escape room. And so it's up on the third floor here, and so I was seeing the folks out who was just here, and for some reason, I guess my computer changed, and I've never downloaded, it was haunted house sounds. So when I come in to come get my computer to log on with you, I'm going up the stairs and I'm hearing screaming, I'm hearing haunted house sounds and laughing.
It sounds
And
like
I'm
you
like,
got a few pranksters there too, like we do
Yep.
at the
I
hall.
do. I do. And so I'm like, well, this is weird. So I go up, and as soon as I'm like, I've never downloaded this before. Why did this change? So I stopped the music. As soon as I stopped the music, the loudest whistle let out from right behind me in the hall there. And I thought, okay, so that's something that's very common that we get here, is whistling. And a lot of the time that's so the other inmates would let them know that the guard or the jailer or whoever was coming. And
Yeah.
so it's really weird that as soon as I turned that off, all of a sudden this long whistle starts. And I was like, okay, now that gives me a little bit of chills. And so, of course, I've got to go reset the room later. But when I came back down, you could just feel the energy was just a little bit different. And I can only imagine what they're thinking about the people who are doing the escape room, while they're in there and doing all that.
A place like a jail is a great place to have an escape room.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, that makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's all anybody wants to do is escape.
Right.
Exactly. How long does it take you to escape the room? If you're, what's your best time on an escape?
Well, we just opened officially last weekend, and I've been here for 3, and the last 3 that I've been here, they've not escaped. But now the very last one did escape with 12 minutes and 23 seconds, which was really good. And there's a couple clues that most people ask for a hint on. This group did not ask for a hint on this, so this was actually a little different. I'm not sure out of the groups that Christy's had. I think she's had one that was escaped fairly quickly, but they ended up pulling a drawer out and it wasn't supposed to come out, so they like just kind of skipped a couple clues and broke a piece of it. So
at one point we thought, well, we'll do an escape thing at the hall, and then after attending a few things up in some of the escape rooms up here in Bowling Green and seeing them rip down pictures off of walls, go after everything and throwing it around, and I'm like going, holy smokes, we're not doing that.
Yeah, so somebody and we always tell them, we're like, you don't have to stick your hand down the toilet, don't pull the desk off the wall, the beds, don't pull the mirror off the wall. And of course, I think one of the first ones that was there pulled a mirror off the wall. So
Exactly. That's exactly what they do. And that's when you go, oh boy.
Yeah. But Chris has done, I mean, I'm not a great puzzle person. I tend to fixate on smaller, like the minor details rather than the bigger picture. And so she's done an amazing job as far as putting the puzzles together and coming up with some very creative. We've got some very good feedback from it. A lot of people, they compare it to the ones that they've gone to over in Gatlinburg and Knoxville and Nashville. So yeah, we're excited about it because I mean, we're very rural here, so there's not a lot to do. You do have to go either north to Somerset in Kentucky or south to Knoxville and Oak Ridge, which would be an hour away, or 2 hours to Sevierville. So so it's definitely been something interesting, and it seems to be starting to take off really well. Excellent. And like you said, it just makes sense here in the jail.
Yeah, it does.
Miranda, for those that are interested in that, do you do those on? I mean, do you have like a schedule for those, or are they just kind of like an event?
We do. Yeah. So essentially, right now we have the schedule for September up, but this is going to be something that does go year round. Because we are open daily for the museum, and we also have our after dark tours that are late. We have the escape room scheduled typically Thursday through Monday, and we have those at 4 p.m., 6 p.m., and 7:45. And so we kind of have to do like a little bit of a dance with the clock, because our 7:45 ones are over with by 8:45, and our paranormal investigation teams come in by 8:30. So essentially, I'm orienting and giving a tour to the paranormal team while the escape room is wrapping up there. And so by the time they wrap up, we're ready for them to get started investigating. So there are a few times, like this coming weekend, where we've got the event at Octagon. We're not going to be having, we're not going to have the escape room open on Saturday. But essentially, if you just look at the schedule, we ask everyone to book in advance We can only allow up to 4 people in the room. And so it's $30 per person, but we do offer, if you buy 4 tickets, we have a discount code where you can get $20 off, which would make it just 100 for the room for the 4 people.
Right.
And yeah, those are the 3 times we're trying to kind of keep standard so we can keep our daytime hours open, but also still do the after dark as well.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
What does it cost for the individual paranormal team that is looking to come out to the Scott County Jail? And
Yes. So people who have a team or an individual or whatever that wants to come in and do a private investigation, those run from 8:30 at night until 3 a.m. and those are $375. We ask for $100 deposit and then just to pay the remainder whenever you come. We'd love to let people be able to stay longer, but because we're not a hotel or a bed and breakfast, we have to actually have closed hours. And so we're only able to allow people at this time. Hopefully that might change later, but at this time till 3.
so no sleeping in the jail cells.
Unfortunately not. Yeah, we had to with our insurance agreement and stuff, we had to have closed hours. Otherwise we would be considered a hotel. And then there's
Yes.
other stuff because we are a for-profit business. I know that
Yeah.
like the hall is not for profit, but Chris and I, our business history, highways and haunts, we are for profit because we do lease the jail and have the utilities and stuff and rent that we have to pay for the jail.
Oh, sure. Exactly.
Um,
And you guys are a great team together. And I
Thank you.
know anything that both of you are involved in. Listen, folks, if you get the opportunity to get down there and do an escape room, or if you're paranormal and you want to do that, there is nobody better than the 2 ladies that are running that place down there
Thank you, Bear.
with Miranda and Chris Summers. And it's just, fantastic. And you mentioned something about something coming up this weekend. And
Yes.
I'm going to put this up for a second. Guess what? We're going to have a great time in Eising Hall because there's Chris Summers and there's Miranda Young, the Ghost Bikers, and part of the Soul Sisters right there. And Saturday, September 10th, they are going to be there. It's kind of like a VIP hunt. And we're really excited about, I'm always excited about seeing you guys out there. But it's already sold out, folks. I mean, when you sleep on these things, they move extremely quickly. And
Especially when it's Miranda and the dog.
I know, right?
yeah,
I was surprised at how quick we did want to keep it to a low number because we want everyone to have the best experience possible. And I mean, how can you have a bad experience at the hall? I mean, the hall is fantastic, but we wanted to make it an intimate night to where we did limit the tickets to 15 people. That way we could split them up into small groups. Part of the time people will investigate with myself and the other half with Chris, but you will be able to investigate with both of us because we will be switching out.
yeah.
And we wanted to make sure because there's so much of a rich history with Octagon Hall, the way we wanted to structure it was instead of really doing like a paranormal 101 with equipment, we wanted to really spend that first hour talking about the history and really letting the people, so when they go into the different rooms or go outside or wherever, they'll be able to better address who they're talking to. So we're going to definitely want your help with that, Bear, to because nobody knows the history better than you. And so we really want to spend that time doing that. We'll have a little meet and greet beforehand. We were originally going to do a bike ride with it. I don't know that that's going to happen just because everything's just got so tight and the weather is looking a little bad for that day. But we will do one because I know there was a lot of interest. So we will definitely do a motorcycle ride with a history tour of the hall soon. But yeah, that's going to be what I think that we're going to be hunting from, I think 8 to 1 or doing an investigation there. And, we got a lot of people who couple people who have investigated Octagon Hall before, and quite a few people who have not. So that's they're in for a treat, is all I can say. I mean,
Well,
there's
you
no
know,
place better.
um, the more that, and you've been there a lot,
A
and
lot. Yeah.
we have, you've had quite a lot of experiences.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you something. I mean, lately, I don't know what the heck's going on at the hall. You talk about the type of thing where you're talking to individuals, and we had the Kicks for Cancer thing down there, and I got the same thing. They're yelling down in the basement. You got to get Bear down here. They're yelling for Bear. They're yelling for Bear, and we have a 20-minute conversation with 6 of the ladies in the house, and they're all in the winter kitchen downstairs. And it was amazing. I just was like going, and then
Well,
other things that are happening, because it's just not the ghost stuff that we have to worry about. It's the other things, and all of us were at the hall last night, and I don't know. I believe they're kind of going, "Holy smokes!"
I would believe that, and it's interesting, and it just really shows how connected the hall is with everything, because it's almost like the 6 degrees separation of Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation with the hall, because the team, we had a team in who they had come from all over. They had come from Nashville. I think they were here. It would have been 2 weeks ago, I believe, and so they had flown. Several of them had flown from California, and I think Iowa and Cleveland, Ohio. Anyway, so they're here, and we were kind of talking about some stuff. Very, very kind, very good investigators, and they were doing a paranormal road trip when they were here. And as we were talking, they asked me about. They're like, "Well, what's some of your strangest experiences or most interesting?" And so I did not know that when they came here, the first place they investigated was Octagon Hall. And so I said something about, I talked about the time that I drew you. And I said, "No, if you ever get the chance, you need to go to Octagon Hall." And so right after, they're like, "So that was you." And they had been investigating Octagon Hall, and they had talked to you, and they were, I think, coming back to investigate on their way back. I think
They
they
were.
did 2 trips there. And so it's interesting, because I know everyone is always investigating the hall, and they're always really interesting, almost life-changing experiences for a lot of people when they investigate there. And so I thought that was just kind of crazy, because they were like, "Well, we met Bear, then we met you, and so then we're going to go back and investigate." And,
The first
yeah,
thing they said was, you didn't tell us who that was. And I said, "Well, I did that on purpose, but that's okay."
right.
And so they came back and they said, "So we're down there at Sky County Jail. Miranda talking to us," and she says, "Blah, blah, blah, blah." I went, "Oh, great."
Yeah, that was wild. And then, because I showed them the picture, and they were like, because after they said it, they said, "Do you have a picture?" Before they told me it was you, they said, "Do you have a picture of that?" And I
Yeah.
did. And so that's when they're like, "You're not going to believe this." And so, yeah,
Yeah. 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 Well, that's just part of that's part of the paranormal. You never know what you're going to see. Never know what's going to happen. And, it's funny. I think that they, um, in certain places, when we go to certain places, that we have past dealings there or something.
Yeah.
It's very funny. And the conscious stuff. And one day I got to get you on here, and we've got to talk about uh, the deep consciousness and some of it, because I know you're into that.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
much.
really am. Yes.
Yeah, and we've got a lot to talk about with that. So that would be
Well,
it.
and I was going to tell you, the last time that I was there at the hall, because again, you all have been so generous to us with everything that we've been doing here. And, we were up there picking up some mannequins,
Mhm.
and you were talking about experimenting with frequencies. And so when we came back here, it just so happened it was the anniversary of the night that one of our most infamous inmates was taken out of the jail and lynched. And so we went up there to his specific cell, and we had cameras, we had several different things set up. And so we thought we're going to experiment with that frequency. And we had 2 REM pods. This particular cell block, we were sitting in the bullpen, and there's 2 cells inside of this particular block. So we had the 2 REM pods sitting up there, as well as some other tools, EDI plus box. And as soon as we turn it on that frequency, I would say we probably had played it for maybe about 30 to 40 seconds. All of a sudden, one REM pod starts going off, and it's trying to match the frequency.
Yeah.
And literally within 5 seconds, the other REM pod starts going off. And we're sitting there. We cannot duplicate or
Told you
replicate
so.
this experience. Yes. And they're all going off. So we stop, and it sounded like they were trying to match it. So we stopped the frequency there. And then in succession, one of them stops, and then the other stops. And they weren't chirping or anything. I mean, they were literally humming like they were matching the frequency. And
Right.
so we tried it again several times. We could not get it to do that same thing. So then we go over to another cell block, start doing the same thing, asking some questions. And as soon as we quit doing it, we got some of the most incredible knocks going on down the hall when we were doing this on command, on response. So we can't get it to happen all the time, but there's truly something to that frequency
Yeah.
that
Are you
depending.
recording? Because we tend
Yes.
to get a lot more EVPs when we do that frequency.
Yes.
The EVPs just seem to like, and then if you're using a ghost box, I mean, prepare to sit down and have a long conversation.
Right.
Wow.
Not
So
just
now,
1 or 2 words, it'll be sentences.
so let me ask you, so whenever you're getting these EVPs, are you just playing the frequency at a lower level, or are you like
Yes.
playing it for a minute and then stopping and getting them?
We will play the frequency, and Billy,
We'll turn it down to where it's not annoying to us, and we'll
Yes.
just let it go.
Yeah.
You know, and
and
it
it's,
seems
I'm sorry, Billy.
it seems to be good energy that comes around while we're
Right.
doing it. It's not the bad stuff; it's the good stuff. And
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know. The only thing I could figure out with the REM pods was that it was just trying to match that sound, kind of
Mhm.
like, because that was the very first time we
Trying to
did it.
mimic it.
Uh-huh. Yep. Because it's like we're doing this to them. And so they're like, okay, well, they're responding whenever we do that with the REM pod. So what if we do the same thing back to them to see what kind of response they give, you know?
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
so it was a very, very interesting experiment.
yeah. You know, it's kind of it's amazing because you know how we used to use the EMF pumps, right?
Yes.
And I always had a thing about EMF pumps. I was kind of like going, well, you're juicing them up, and you're because well, the frequency is a lot more natural, you know, and it's
Mhm.
an area where we can all raise our frequency levels to that stuff. You can be able to do all kinds of communications through that part, and so it just all made sense. And what we'll do is sometimes we'll sit out on the property, and Billy will blast that.
Oh, okay.
And it may play for 20 minutes. We'll go back in the house and it's blasting, and we go back outside, and you know we'll put it in the house and we'll put it down low, and we may put it in the room we're at. We may put it to the next room where we're going, but it's running in the house for a little bit, and it seems to just bring that energy to match it, and it's spirit communication via that frequency, you know.
Well, and that
Miranda,
makes a lot of sense to me,
yeah,
you
the
know.
thing that brought it, that made me want to start doing it, you know how we tend to get ringing in our ears,
Yes.
you know, and everybody says, "Oh, that's just tinnitus," and I'm like, "Well, why does everybody in the room have tinnitus at the same time?"
And it comes and goes.
So my thinking is, if they're communicating to us in frequency, why don't we try it back?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to have been working for us.
Yeah.
I can totally understand that, and what you just said about a more natural frequency. I mean, because I'm with you. I have a couple EMF pumps, and I never really used them a whole lot. I would try it when things tended to be a little bit, kind of calm and flat. I would try it, and it worked, but I always sort of wondered. I really tended to get more fluctuation spikes in my meters rather than actually getting more. Um, voices and stuff. With
Yeah.
this, it seems to be more voices, more audible, or actually more physical
Hmm.
knocking
Almost like
and
it
such.
draws them in and gives them,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
something to
it,
Mhm.
connect with.
Well, and two, because when you think about it, and I don't know as far as EMF, because I mean, obviously, in theory, the spirits will use that to communicate by spiking. But I mean, I use binaural beats all the time, usually on a daily basis, and so I listen to them. Sometimes I have issues with anxiety and my heart rate and stuff, and so when I get very anxious, I like to I'll listen to music, and it will literally, those binaural beats at the different frequencies, it will change your heart rate. I mean, and of course your body is made up of so much of a percentage of water, so why would the frequency and the hertz and the sound and everything not totally not change that? It can change your brain waves. When I'm doing drawings and trying to be creative, I'll listen to the numbers on the frequency that tends to be more creative.
yeah,
So in my mind, it's very natural with changing it through this vibration and these frequencies. Why would that not work the same way whenever you're dealing with a spirit that's, I mean, it seems like it would just be more natural in pumping up or producing more energy.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. And you can also use it. You know how we used to use the uh, we look at the moon planet and you'd say, okay, it's a waxing or it's a waning moon, and maybe it's better.
Yes.
Well, if you would take and look at the Schumann resonancy of the
Ah.
day and what's going on that day, that affects each and everything. So we just had super spikes in the Schumann resonancy, so and it just went off the charts like that, basically, and uh, it's very odd when you see it go totally. It raised so much that it was not measurable on the chart, and that was about 24 hours ago.
Wow.
And so imagine you're doing paranormal work while you have that spike in that energy and that frequency of the Earth's hum. And
Mm-hmm.
what's that going to do? That's going to add something different to your investigation and cause different things.
Absolutely.
It's
It,
such an important part. The field changes a lot, and from when this old guy started out with a reel-to-reel tape, and
well, I'll tell you, and that's something. That's something, I put at the start of all of my episodes. I always put the temperature, what it is inside and outside,
yeah,
and then how it changes throughout the night. I put what the moon phase is. I always kind of have a stat report at the
yeah,
start of the episode. And then if there's something that's dramatically changed midway through the investigation, I keep that on there as well.
right,
Um, last season, and of course it's really kind of hard because you have to be in a very controlled environment to do some of these different comparisons, because I took the Nickerson Sneed house as an example. And so I originally went and investigated Jake Fife, which, he's like 20 years younger than me. And, he's got this, young male energy. And he's been investigating since he was a kid. I mean, he literally had just turned
yeah,
like 21 years old. And so we met for the first time. So there's all these different things. And I try to look at all this when I go to the location. And so, one, this was our first time investigating together. So you've already got that energy going, not knowing how that's going to be. You've got myself, you've got my female energy, you've got Jake's male energy. And then we start looking at what the moon phase is, what the weather is like, all these different atmospheric things that could potentially come into what's going on. also there at Nickerson Sneed House, the typical protocol is to start the investigation off with a seance or start it off. They do use a spirit board there a whole lot. Jake and I offered or opted not to do that. We didn't want to start with a seance and we didn't want to use the spirit board. We did actually sit the spirit board out on the table as a trigger item and mark the planchette in a certain place to see if they would actually move it. We did some spirit box sessions with it sitting on the board. We really wanted to use that and say, okay, the spirits are used to this type of communication when we come in. Is this going to change? And so we asked a lot of the same questions, did everything kind of a very similar fashion. And so then got some really, really interesting results. And we were actually getting a lot of responses. I had static cameras on the second floor. We were getting a lot of interesting responses on the second floor when we were in the seance room in the first floor. It was almost like the room had just, or the building had come alive.
Right.
And so then, unfortunately, it was like 2 months later, I went back and investigated by myself. And so I was wanting to kind of see how things changed. Of course, that's hard to get a complete accurate comparison because you're not going to have the same temperature, the same moon phase, the same season. So certain things you control for, other things you're kind of at the mercy of, I guess, the atmosphere, and the season. But it was interesting to see the different responses. And I have some different theories on some of the responses that I got asking the same questions when I was there alone versus whenever I was there with Jake. And I do really feel like, our energies played a really big part in the type of activity that we were getting on both nights. And I think it was what we came in with versus, or what we came in with, how that was reacting to some of the spirits that were already there.
I agree with it, and we've seen it before. And now, when I'm looking at stuff, I'm going back to other investigations, and it's just common sense. I don't know what it is. You'll see it at your facility. You'll be able to start to go, well, it's the end of August now. Going to be active for a little bit. This is going to be a time. So we search for what happened there at that period. What's the atmosphere like? What is the even to the point of like, okay, we've just went into Virgo to the point of going, just and it's another way of looking at it. Is taking it more into that way of going. What's causing that activity? Is it? And it's funny because I guess the best way I can tell, correct me if I'm wrong, Billy and Tanya, when we do it, there are certain individuals that will communicate to you more at certain points in the seasons. So it's like, you don't get so-and-so in October or September, but you get him in February. You get him at these other things. So it's very, if you work at a location and you do the things that we do, that helps us with the paranormal. But it's hard to do at another home when you're doing that. You have to just be there. But
you definitely notice the pattern.
And it
there is definitely a pattern. There's definitely a pattern. I'll tell you.
Yeah, and probably the place, as far as like a commercial location, that was probably the most evident to me on this was Hell's Bar Dam, and mostly because you are right there on the water. Essentially, in some parts, you're either right under the water or right on it. And I've investigated that place when it was 28 degrees and so cold, you couldn't do anything. But then other times when it was just so blistering hot. And personally, for myself, I found those colder months, unless I'm investigating somewhere in Florida where it's just continually year-round hot, I tend to get better activity when it's colder weather. And now, like I said, Florida is kind of an anomaly because, and it could be the way my body is reacting, with being super drained or whatever. But I was noticing that at Hell's Bar because I've investigated it multiple times. And that's when probably the first time that became the most evident to me that there really, truly is a shift that is, for myself, that's based on temperature.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very unusual. It's kind of like, and it's dramatic. It
Yeah.
is. It is dramatic. And man, Hale's Barn Dam, one of my uh, favorites. I used to really enjoy that. We went down there quite a lot, long
Yeah.
time ago. And but yeah, very good. And boy, you got some very good. It's a good video evidence, good photo evidence.
Hmm.
EVPs down in the tunnels. If you have to be
Yeah.
very careful because of what is around you and understanding that there you can get bleed through down the tunnel from upstairs or up in the
Yeah.
other area. But there's some really interesting EVPs come out of that place. But
Yeah, and to you know, you hit on something just a few minutes ago talking about different spirits communicating different during different months. And that is something, you know, we're just being open a year. We're just getting ready to kind of fall into that second cycle of
right,
seeing here. And so it's going to be interesting. And that's something I've actually kind of wondered about in a lot of places. Is that because, you know, maybe these people, you know, that's around some type of anniversary date for them, or maybe there's more energy that they're able to draw on. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of different factors in that. Have you noticed any type of trend or anything as to why certain ones may be more active at certain months?
I think it's because of uh, there are activities that have happened, train derailments, troop movement through the area, that kind of stuff has gone on.
Mhm.
And then you also have the ones that I think that are just um, birthdays, anniversaries, death dates. You know, when they got married, all that kind of stuff is important to the hall. And the hall changes during those period of times. You know, and uh, one of the big things that you can tell. I don't know if you've ever spelled a eucalyptus at the hall.
I
Uh,
have actually. I
yeah,
have. Yeah.
you know that there's been a death because that's what they use to keep inside the parlor all the time when they
Huh.
have dead bodies. And so you walk in there and it's like going, wow, we're on an anniversary of a death. And that's why we try to keep up with all the anniversaries and all the stuff like that. So, yeah. And
Okay.
the doors will change and open differently because the way that they move people in and out of the parlor, the view and come in and out. So there are a lot of different things to do to take into consideration. But it's all part of a wonderful thing because as paranormal investigators, and Dave Spinks and I have talked about this, and Billy and Tanya have talked about it with them also. And we, you know, you look at it and you go, hey, you know, it's great to have a facility that you're at all the time because guess what we're actually doing? It becomes a laboratory for us to fulfill and help other paranormal investigators do other things. They're
Right.
all searching for the same thing, you know,
Hmm.
and it's important to continue this, you know. And you mentioned some of the young people in the paranormal, you know, we get to see a lot of paranormal teams. Some of them shouldn't be in a paranormal. Others, some of them are just great, you know. And I love to see the ones that are young and doing the
Yeah.
amazing things because I just hope that they fulfill the things that when I can't do this anymore, like next week, that I hope that they can take it a little bit farther and use some of the stuff, you know, pull up an old Into the Farm and listen to this show. You know,
Absolutely.
hear something like that and be able to use it or whatever because uh, there's so much left that there's so much we don't even know what it is, and we're still trying to put it together. So hopefully there are individuals that come forward to take up the slack to think the things we're thinking right now. So
Absolutely. And it's, that's been one of the best parts about doing this is, I've always, as long as I've been doing the paranormal, I mean, I learned from a great team with PRGI and,
mhm.
really cut my teeth with those guys because I mean those guys are fantastic. And, it's like whenever you have people like that you can learn from. And then I've always tried throughout, doing all this with Ghost Biker, anytime that I can, watch a show, listen to someone, or even just kind of follow watching some different people's videos, you learn so much about different things that maybe you wouldn't think about. And so seeing these folks come in here and try different techniques, and we love it whenever they tell us that hey, this is some of the things we captured when we were here. Sometimes we don't, a team will come in and we never hear another word from them. Other
Right.
times they're sharing stuff, putting it out there, and I love seeing that because it helps us as a location, and it also helps us to learn from them,
Sure.
what they've got, maybe something we didn't think of, or even kind of validate some of the stuff that that we've been getting, that it's like, oh well, we got this name or we had this type of reaction, and we can come back and say, hey, that's something we get all the time. So yeah, that's probably one of the best parts. I mean, like you said, there are a few that you kind of just sort of
Well, yeah.
it's like,
You know,
don't.
you mentioned PGRI, and
Mhm.
got to give criticism because the last time we were sitting together on the back porch, and Mr. Holland and myself were there, and we were just shooting the stuff, and we're watching stuff, and we are comparing notes over all the years of, oh, have you seen this? Yep. Oh, have you seen this? Yeah, I have. I've seen it. And then, sure enough, something happens that we both got to see together that we both went, I wish I didn't see that.
Yeah.
It's like going, can you believe that? Now I got to think about that for the next 2 years. But that's the kind of stuff that the paranormal brings you all the time, and it's always great
That's
to
right.
be able to have validations with other teams where they see the same individuals, same creatures, same uh, full body apparitions, because that they're out there roaming, and it's just
Yeah.
validation for everybody. So.
I think the greatest thing is when they look at you and they say, "This stuff is real."
Right.
Yeah,
We get that a lot, yeah, with the flashlight tours and the
yeah,
guided ghost hunts. Most people that come in and do those they're not investigators. They're just either
yeah,
interested in it or they've watched a lot of TV. And so you're kind of showing them it is different than what you see on TV, but whenever you get up there and something pulls something off the wall or throws something or even just lights up a flashlight, when you're
yeah,
asking a direct question, it's amazing when that happens. And then the people, a lot of them will say, I don't know that I'm a believer, because there's usually a couple skeptics in the group whenever we do
Right.
these flashlight tours.
yeah,
Some of them are firm believers and others are kind of but whenever we do it and certain things happen, they're like, okay, I can't really explain how that happened, but I know that was something not normal,
yeah,
and so it usually makes them think. And a lot of the time they come back and do a ghost hunt with us after that.
Yeah.
yes,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We have the same thing, but I mean, it's amazing to us, I think, of some of the things, we see a lot, we know a lot of the stuff, and then sometimes it just gets off the chain real quick.
Yeah.
You know, we were all doing an investigation not too long ago, and we were using the flashlights. The flashlight techniques,
Hmm.
don't really care for it, but it's a
Hmm.
visual thing for especially a novice on or something like that.
Yeah.
But when they go smack, 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 and they're flashing and they're answering right to a T, you
Hmm.
can't. There is something going on there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you're delayed. And I don't know if Billy or Tanya saw it, but I was sitting there at the hall, and the flashlight was going on, and I saw that flashlight actually pick up and move.
Wow.
It was lit, and it went. I went, are you kidding me?
Well, and that's the thing too. We always, when we do the flashlight tours, we give so we limit the number to 10,
Yeah,
and we give them a K2 meter to carry with them. And we always tell them, it's like, if your K2 starts going off, especially on the second, third floor, because we have the power flipped,
right.
we're like, let us know, and we'll see what story we were telling, because there's certain stories that these go off on. And
Hmm.
so we always have that. And so then we take their K2s, we set them up in one room, and then sometimes we'll have flashlights too. And it always seems like the flashlights, when we can get those to go off on command, um, always seems to be a little more, for someone who doesn't investigate, seems to be more, I don't want to say believable, because when you look at a K2, it's like, unless you're an electrician, it's like, okay, how does this work? Is this a manufactured ghost hunting tool or whatever? But when you have a flashlight, it's just your everyday common tool.
Right.
That seems to be one of the more convincing things for the people at our on the flashlight tours, just because it's not supposed to turn on and off by itself, I guess.
Yeah.
So
They don't feel like it's set up specifically for them. It's an average everyday item that they might have at home.
exactly. So it's not something specialized that makes it sort of feel like, okay, I'm going to have to go buy this, because K2s have gotten expensive, have to go buy this specialized tool. I can use any everyday, utensil, and do some spirit communication.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mhm.
just flipped into the chat room. Well, everybody in the chat room, it's great to have you here. But I wanted to just answer some questions. I see Holly asked the question of where is Hales Barn Dam? It's off of I-24 down by Nickeljack Lake. Uh, I had heard that they were going to give tours again. They turned it into like a whiskey manufacturing place just
Yes.
recently. And I do not know if they're giving. Do you know if they're going to be giving starting the ghost?
So I know they're doing history tours, and they had stopped the paranormal because during the haunt season, they pretty much have most of the tunnels as a haunted house now.
Yeah.
But I've not heard confirmation, but I did hear Nicole say that it's possible doing paranormal in the future, but
Yeah.
I do know that they do haunted history tours. I think through the day. I don't know if those are appointment only, but they do have a lot of those as well on their website. The tours that they do.
Yeah. Yeah. It is so. Hello, everybody. I'd read off all your names, but we appreciate it. Christy Moore Hughes asked me, Bear, what's your favorite technique? It's changed over the years, honey, as everything, and as these wonderful people that I spend most of my time with all know that I would much rather just sit and listen and take a recorder and maybe a voice box, maybe a REM pod, something like that. Don't have to have all the fancy stuff anymore. We've bought all kinds of equipment. We've used all kinds of stuff. And just give me a recorder. Let me sit in a place and just let the spirits come to you. Billy mentioned to it earlier. The whole secret to this is, don't chase ghosts. You cannot chase them down. I mean, if you hear them upstairs, don't run upstairs. Stay where you're at, because they're going to eventually come to you, because it's the idea. They want to know what you're doing. And that's the fascination that they have. They are watching you too, as you are working for them. And so that's probably my favorite technique now. Just old school stuff.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
That's
Yep.
simple.
Sit,
That's the
listen, and
best way to do
observe.
it.
Yep.
Yep. So everybody, she says that's why I love the back porch, and we just
Yep.
We like the back porch of the hall too.
We
And
spend a lot of time there.
You
And I
never.
think that calms you all too. You're in
It
that
does. It
that
does.
just relaxed state. And I
Well, I
mean
don't
that
know. Half the time we're observing stuff off the back porch just as much as we are inside the house.
Yep.
well, I'm sure probably with the wild things that Octagon Hall is known for. I mean, there's very few places that I know of that's got sort of the trifecta of activity going on there.
I'm
It's
Yeah.
surprised she doesn't have
wild.
a kink in her neck from staring up at the sky last night for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
had
but you
some
see
stuff
just as many
yesterday.
shadow figures out in the yard as you do inside the house.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, there's
you're sitting there on the back porch. It's nighttime, and all you're doing is going, "Hey, see that? Look over there. See that? What the heck is
Yeah.
that?"
or
Did
you're
you hear that?
watching a light in the sky and you watch an airplane go past it and it dims and it comes back and it shifts this way and it shifts this way and then it starts going up a little bit and then it stops. It gets real bright, it gets real dim, and then
You
it
shine a
kind of
flashlight on it, it
Yeah.
goes away.
it does this
You turn
and
the
then
light
it sits
off and it
there.
comes back. Weird
Yeah.
shit happens.
Do you all have theories as to why Octagon Hall? I mean, is it the parallel that it's on, or ley lines, or is it,
All
I
the
think there's a
above.
whole lot to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's a
think the
whole lot.
hall was I think the hall was built where it was built, the way it was built, all for a reason.
Mhm. Yeah.
Of course, we all know the history of the
Mhm.
area, you
Yep.
know. And then, of course, right there on the 37th parallel.
Yep.
But it makes you wonder, did they put that there for a specific reason because it is on the 37th parallel?
Yep. And the
It's
other
sitting on
part of
top of the cave system.
Yeah.
yep.
A lot of things go into play for. It truly is amazing. Just not the parent. I mean, it's obvious there's paranormal activity just because of the history alone. But when you start looking at, the sky activity and the crypto activity and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like it's a beacon or something. I mean, personally for
Right.
myself, I've not experienced a location that's had, that much activity as far as, I mean, a variety of activity,
Yeah.
not at the one specific location. It's wild.
And
Yeah.
that way the house is built, the windows facing the solstices, and
Right.
the front door, the back door facing. It's just
Yeah.
It's all for a reason.
A certain way. And yep. And I think we're going to find out some more interesting things on why it may be that way. The cave systems, I mean,
we're always talking about the past history of the hall, but I always say there's a future history to the hall too.
Yeah.
The history's not done yet.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, and I think you're right with the caves. I mean, have you all opened up any more of those caves or been?
Just wait till you get there.
Oh,
We're going to talk. We got
nice.
to we've got some things that will flip your mind that we have sat there and seen and done, and we're looking at some other things. We'll be there tomorrow. I'll be talking to a very good individual, wonderful individual we both know and love. Operates a place down here in Franklin. Also, he's going to be there helping us a little bit. So,
Nice.
some interesting things going on. So, we are really looking forward to the future of it. But yeah, and some of the things that
I
have happened.
know that if Billy was still with us, that he would be very happy with what's going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I will say Isaac is following in his grandfather's footsteps to a
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful. It's wonderful.
He's a
And,
great guy. Yeah.
love to hear that.
he is. He is.
Because I mean, the hall was in amazing hands, with Billy, and such a huge loss to the historical community as well as the paranormal community whenever he passed away. But it's so wonderful to see just how everyone has just lifted up what he was doing and continued moving forward, making sure that nothing falls out of place and that everything continues to go as Billy and as the Caldwell family would have, everyone would have wanted it.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. It's transitioning and it's going farther and farther out, and it's going to be there for a long time. I don't think
And
I.
there's nothing like seeing Isaac have a Scooby Doo moment.
I know.
Now, is he a believer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was he a believer before?
Statements. Yeah, one of his famous statement was, and we had a group there, and it was a old lady's birthday, and something very unusual happened, and I don't know if I told you it or not, but this unusual thing, and everybody got up at the table. He's distraught. Everyone else is distraught. And he's on the back porch going, they can, they can talk to me. I can see them. I can do all of it. But when they start messing with the space-time continuum, I'm out of here. So, yeah.
Jack did that pretty bad that night.
Yeah, it jacked,
And you caught it on camera.
it jacked
Yeah,
everybody up.
caught it on camera.
Everybody up. So it was really weird.
Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then another thing that happens out there, I've seen some brutal last few. I'm about ready to go. Okay, I'm ready to go to the old folks home. Give me my medicine. I'm ready.
So have you found that being somewhere like Octagon Hall, especially being there all the time and when you're there somewhere a long time and a lot of many days, you tend to experience a lot. Have you found that that's sort of, I don't want to say ruined you from some locations, but sort of changed your perspective and the way when you go into a location?
No. It's funny.
I think it's actually helped us
Yeah.
when we go to other locations.
Because
I
you're
can
open
see
to,
that.
you're open to it. You're open to a lot of different things. And when,
Your intent changes,
yeah,
Hmm.
and
because it's about, as you know, and Billy knows, and Tanya knows, and so many other good investigators know, it's about the research, it's about the history.
That's right.
And when we get, we got Hound Doggy Melvin out there, and Melvin's knocking on the stuff and coming down with stuff, and we go there, it's like going, wow, and we mentioned the Gaines Tavern, and we talked about it we had an afterglow show on Into the Far about it, and we all rated it a 10. I mean, and when you go first time you've ever been to a place and you're doing an event and you're bringing people in, and every paranormal investigator goes 10.
Wow.
You're
we
like,
we all said too that I think that place held back on us,
it did.
Wow.
and we still gave it a 10.
Yeah, it was 10. So if you ever want to have a good little time, if you haven't been there yet, you might want to put that on your list.
So is
as
it
much as
open?
we see in Octagon Hall,
Mhm.
and as many different things that we have go on there, when you go somewhere else, you're very open
Mhm.
to all kinds of things.
Yeah,
And I think that makes a difference. Yeah.
And you also have to remember that we have a history, or our team has been together long enough where we have a history of doing a lot of, we know each other very well, but we also have a history of doing a lot of residential homes.
That's true. That's true.
When you do the residential homes,
That's different beast. Yeah.
Yeah.
combine it all together, your attitude changes when you're doing an investigation.
That's very true.
So. But all right, now we've got this other thing done. We know where you're going to be on September 10th. You're going to be at Octagon Hall, and we're running down out of time, but you, my dear, are one of the busiest ladies around. So is Chris Summers, the doc, and why don't you tell us what's coming up for you? Because let's pitch a little bit about you. Give us what's coming up for Scott County Jail, and how people can do and get over to see you, because we're still waiting to have our first encounter there. And I apologize we haven't been over there yet, because I think we've been busy doing something. I don't know what, but
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Yes. So, okay. So I'll kind of start with the jail. A few things we got going on with that. We are ramping up with some really cool things coming in here to September and October. We've got the escape room that's going to be essentially every week, 3 time slots every day, minus Tuesday and Wednesday. So you can find all of that information at historicscottcojail.com or on the Facebook page. As far as creepy stuff goes, we're going to be having a lot of flashlight tours. We have a haunted history walk, which is a 45-minute walk around the town of Huntsville that ends with an hour-long flashlight tour of the jail where we do a little mini session. We're also going to have multiple guided ghost hunts here that is led either by myself or Dr. Christy Sumner. Sometimes you might get both of us on those, but those are 3-hour full immersive ghost hunts where we bring our equipment, encourage you to bring yours. Those are actually $35 a person for 3 hours. So it's a really good deal. And then, of course, we do still have a few dates of paranormal investigations open in September and October. Those are filling up quick. We only have a few of those, and those do run from 8:30 at night till 3 in the morning. Just check our calendars and see. We have heat and air, so don't, once it gets cold, don't feel like you can't come, because after October, we do still have a few dates available in November and December. Not many, but a few. You can come in, enjoy the heat, and investigate comfortably here. We are doing something special at the end of the month. At the end of October, we are partnering with the one of the school systems here and with their drama club, and we're actually bringing some of our local spirits and local history to life with a tour of the jail where you're going to actually get to come through and you're going to get to hear these students from the drama class actually tell stories of the different inmates that we had here and some of the different. We're essentially bringing our flashlight tour history to life, if you will. So that's going to be the weekend of October 22nd and 23rd. We're still working out the details of the dates on that, but that's going to be something really big that we are doing here. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else as far as the jail, because we do have, quite a bit with that. We are working on, can't really say a whole lot about it yet, but hopefully will in the next couple of weeks. Dr. Sumner and I are working on a couple different expansion options here for the jail. And so, like I said, we're just ironing out some final details on that we'll hopefully be announcing very soon. As far as Ghost Biker, again, we got season 5 that's going to start on, I think it's October 4th. It's that first Tuesday in October. And so the very first location we're going to be covering is going to be a location that's not been investigated before. And we are covering haunted jails this season. So that's going to be every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time on the Ghost Biker Explorations Facebook, YouTube channel, and then also on the website and My Mix TV. It's going to be on all those different platforms. And if Lord willing, if everything works out just fine, we'll have those shows every Tuesday night, and then we'll have a follow-up every Thursday night. That is a behind the scenes where we talk about the episodes. We talk to the people who own the locations or have a connection with the location, and I really go into detail about the tools, tips, and techniques and stuff that we do there. As far as different events that are coming up, of course, the big Octagon Hall event, that's going to be a partnership between myself and Dr. Christy Sumner with Soul Sisters, and that's going to be this coming Saturday. Again, no motorcycle ride this time, but we will get that worked out for probably 2023. And tickets are sold out on that. The very next weekend is Haunting in the Hills, and that's the storytelling festival here in the Big South Fork. People come from all over I was going to say all over the country, but they actually come from all over the world. Some of the world's best storytellers, and they tell some of those old Appalachian stories about haunts and haints. And it's their Haunting in the Hills. We're going to have a booth there for the historic Scott County Jail, as well as Ghost Biker and Soul Sisters. And then, gosh, like I said, September is kind of crazy. I want to make sure I get the exact dates right on this. And then, so it will be September 23rd, 24th, and 25th. I'm going to be down in Delville, Alabama with the Deep South Para Comic Con that's down there. Stan Fikes is putting that on. I'm honored to be one of the speakers that's going to be speaking at that. It is a 3-day event. And then the very next weekend, which is going to be September 29th, October 30th, or excuse me, September 29th, 30th, September 30th, for October 1st and October 2nd. We're doing a full weekend back up in Kentucky, in London, Kentucky. We're partnering with Wildcat Harley Davidson. And on the Friday night, we're going to be having a meet and greet. We're also going to be releasing the first episode of Ghost Biker Explorations early. So you'll be able to come out, watch it there at the Harley Davidson. It's a free event. They're going to have food. It's going to be a good time on that Friday. And on Saturday, we do have a motorcycle ride that's a 4-hour ride. There are 5 different stops. We're stopping for lunch and going to be hitting some very cool places there in London, Laurel, Kentucky. And then I think that motorcycle ride is actually sold out. Double check my website, but I believe all spots on that is sold out. But we do still have tickets for the investigation that's going to take place at the Levi Jackson Home Place and Mountain Park there at in London, Kentucky. Tickets are $40. We have them limited to 14. I'm not quite sure how many tickets we have left right now, but it's $40, and every bit of the proceeds go to Laurel County Shop with a Cop. So you want to get in on that. And then on that Saturday, we're taking a private tour of the Saltpeter Caverns, or excuse me, that Sunday, a private tour of the Saltpeter Caverns. That is a free tour. You can give donations to the cave at the door, but I think we've limited that to 25 people. So, and then that pretty much wraps up the Ghost Biker stuff leading into the season. So, so check out the website, ghostbikerexplorations.com or Wildcat Harley Davidson, and get in on that event. The other events are listed on the Ghost Biker Explorations page, and you can get tickets and such that way, or reserve your spot through the site there.
Excellent. Fantastic.
It sounds like you're going to have your kickstand up and your throttle down.
Yeah, exactly.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I had hoped to do a few more rides this year. We normally like to do a couple of rides a year. We are trying to get a motorcycle ride here at the jail that's going to take place probably in October, since I'm going to be pretty much out of town most of September. But we are working to try to do something for everybody, but a lot of the time, not everybody's a biker, and not all bikers like to investigate. So we try to kind of keep those two events separate, but focus more on the storytelling and the history with the motorcycles. And so we hope to, coming up into the next year, have a few more rides planned than what we did this year.
You know,
Yep.
you're one of the premier people.
Well, thank you.
I just love to. It's just very, very special to have you in our lives and be able to call you a wonderful friend. And thank you for working so hard to make this a better world and a better place. And I hope to have you on later. I'd like to talk to you about consciousness and all that stuff. And we want to talk about that. And maybe I can do something on get with you on before you do your October thing.
Yes.
Or host the other one. But I look forward to seeing you this weekend, honey, and the doc. And I'm sure Billy and Tanya also do. So we'll see you up there to have a enjoyable time just to talk and sit down and say, hey.
Yes. And well, we hope to be up there earlier, way before the event, so we can actually spend some time kind of sitting, talking, and
so
yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's such a
hanging
special
out on the porch.
Yes.
it's special time to have you here. So and again, thank you for short minutes, and as it came in the beginning, it's just kind of like the Matrix, Did I just see that cat come by again? And just back. Oh,
She loves people, and she can probably hear you guys, and she wants to be seen and heard.
oh, that's
Um,
good.
But
That's it.
no, I just have to say thank you so much for, giving us this opportunity to be able to, share the hall with some different people, that's kind of in our circle, and be able to host this investigation up there. It really is, a pleasure and an honor to be able to do that. So we definitely, sorry, Kitty. So we definitely appreciate that, and hope that we can definitely do this again.
We are definitely going to do that again. We will definitely do that again. We're going to do quite a lot of different things, plan some stuff, and we'll get it planned out well in advance when we're together. And
I think it's so
let's make it happen. And thank you so
Is
much.
there any tickets left for September 10th?
September 10th. No, is there?
There's not. No, we had 15 spots, and those actually just officially sold out last weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for I'm going to shoot a few things out. Of course, we have again sold out event this Saturday, September 10th. Soul Sister Chris Summer and Ghost Biker Miranda Young out there, and this is an awesome thing. Unfortunately, sold out. As we move onward to another one, Dave Spanks and Serenity Jenny is a sellout for Friday, September 29th and 30th, and October 1st is also a sold out event. Then we get into the Octagon Halls novice hunts, and thank you so much for everybody who is taking all these events, coming to the Octagon Hall, taking a chance. October with the Elite Vixens, and that is a sold out event also. The next weekend, the next day, Saturday, October 8th, with Night Stalkers is sold out. The 14th is also with Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And then on the next Saturday night, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is also sold out. So all of the events in October have been totally sold out. Night Stalkers on October 22nd is sold out. And Whiskey Tango Foxtrot rounds it off at the end of the month. So thank you all so much for giving us all your attention and help us with supporting Octagon Hall. We dearly appreciate it greatly. And we're looking forward to seeing everyone out there for these trips. So
I feel like I need to ring a bell or something with all those sellouts.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
But that's not surprising. That is not surprising when it comes to Octagon Hall, and with the great investigators and stuff that you guys have leading these novice hunts and stuff. This is people, like they said earlier, you got to get those tickets early and be ready is all I can say.
Yeah. And as it goes through the time, and this is the prime time to be able to get out and do it.
And we really want to say thank you to the teams that are stepping in and helping us out with this, because
Absolutely.
it used to be pretty rough,
I'm
doing
sure.
every Friday and Saturday night for the whole month of October,
And especially
and life on top of that,
Yeah, and there's some great teams helping out.
Yeah, and we appreciate it. We appreciate that
Absolutely.
greatly.
we're getting old, so we need a little help,
Yeah, we are.
Maybe we can go play bingo one of those nights.
See, you need to just have a bingo night there at the hall and see if that, if that starts being, just not investigate, but have your recorders going and just sit and play and see what happens.
Paranormal bingo.
There
You
you go.
know that I don't know if this is something in it, and Billy Bird, God bless his soul, he used to run a bingo hall down in Franklin.
Really?
Yeah,
You never know what
That
kind
was
of
just a
activity
joke
you
about
might
bingo.
do.
I've been to bingo with my mom, and some of them little old ladies, boy, I tell you what,
yeah, look out.
Tore up about some bingo.
Serious,
Serious business.
serious stuff.
bunch of cougars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like going into a bowling alley.
Hey, what happens in the bingo hall stays in the bingo hall.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Sometimes it goes out the door too.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Amanda, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all. And thank you all over in the chat room. You know, I appreciate. I've been seeing the very kind comments that you guys have made about myself and Dr. Sumner and about the jail here. And so we definitely appreciate, you know, you all tuning in, your questions and your very kind comments. So and thank you guys for having me on the show tonight.
well, thank you for coming such short notice.
Thank you.
Normally, I consider a chat room as download anything else, but this is going to go hot because afterwards on YouTube and also later it's going to be reviewed many times, I'm sure, because you are one of those very special people. And I'm really happy because we talked about some really cool stuff. And that's best to you, darling. Love you always.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
be
I
sure
look
to
forward to
tune in to
this weekend.
Miranda and Ghost Biker Garage.
Yes, yes, we do actually. I forgot to mention that we do have Ghost Biker Garage every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, where we have paranormal teams. We've had Bear on there. We need to get Tanya and Billy on there as well. We like to have people, teams, authors, different people who are out doing stuff, and so we do that every Thursday night at 9. Cover some great topics, and so even if the season is not going on, which is in October, we do try to have have a show every Thursday night there on the Ghost Biker Facebook, YouTube, and My Mix TV. So yes, thank you for mentioning that.
I can't believe it. It's, you know, that is
So busy, she was naming
I
off all
know.
this other stuff.
I know.
Yeah, and actually this week I'm having some non-paranormal folks on. I'm actually having the Kelly Burton from London Laurel Tourism Commission. I think she had investigated out at one of the events there at the hall, and I think that's where she actually ended up hearing about what I do. And so she's going to be on the show next week, as well as Chris Minton from Wildcat Harley Davidson. And we're going to be talking about the Hogs and Haunt weekend that's going to be happening at the end of the month there. So
fantastic.
stay tuned for that.
Fantastic. Well, tune into that, and we find that on LinkedIn. Where do we find it?
Yes, so you find that on LinkedIn under Ghost Biker Explorations. You can watch it live there on the YouTube channel, Ghost Biker Explorations, or the Ghost Biker Explorations Facebook page. Join us here in the chat room, and we always try to get to everyone's questions, and the guests are always very interactive. So, so yeah, you can watch that live Thursday nights at 9 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn.
Fantastic, dear. Again, thank you. Thank you, chat room. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Tune in next week when we have Into the Far goes deep into the far with Serenity Jenny is back with Dave Spinks. We're going to do them. And then after that, the week after that, I am working on getting the Connecting Conscious group back together again to do like a round table with us. So hopefully that will be coming through. And then, as always, dear, you're always welcome whenever we can. So,
well, thank you.
And, God bless all. And thank you so much for watching and enjoying Into the Fire. We'll see y'all next week. God bless.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.